You're listening to the No BS Bishop podcast. We're alive to love, and all other values are potential BS. Now here's your host, Bishop Randy Dean.
Welcome to you, all you beautiful people. I'm Bishop Randy Dean. It's my pleasure and honor to come to you every week on this podcast and this broadcast, radio broadcast, to share with you Alive to Love. I believe all lesser values than love are potential BS. And BS for the sake of what I try to pull apart here and lift up and teach and train. BS is bait and switch. How we live life in a baiting way, and then we switch to our really true motives. And if they're less than love, it's just BS, and it's other forms of BS. So welcome to this episode. And I've got a subject today I want to discuss with you it's a bit personal for me, because I want to talk to you about the church. All right? That's a simple title, the church. Now, I don't mean the Lutheran Church, the Catholic Church, the Episcopal Church, the Methodist Church, Pentecostal Church, the Baptist Church. I want to talk to you about the church, as in the total, the great thing of religious practice that we call the church in our world today. And I bet you can guess how I'm going to talk to you about it. It's in the context of love. In the context of love, the church. So I think I've got just a tiny bit more than a half an hour of your life and time to talk to you about that. Got a few things on my mind. But before we get there, what I like to do here as a basic platform to get this episode and all my episodes moving along is I share with you the Lord's Prayer, very convinced of the efficacy and the power of the Lord's Prayer. And then I want to share with you Love's Creed. Again, I don't believe in the efficacy of Love's Creed on the same level as I do the Lord's Prayer, but I do think it is efficacious. That word efficacious means it's effective. It has power. It gets something done. It's like yeast in the dough that makes the bread rise. So, first, the Lord's Prayer, truly efficacious, truly effective. And when it's sewed up into our thinking and the way we live, the Lord's Prayer can become this mighty platform of living with steady principles. It's the most prayed prayer in history. Obviously, Jesus taught us this prayer, and in teaching it, he didn't want us just to repeat it like it's some kind of numb ideological pursuit. He taught us to say it and say this prayer in a way that is effective and non-repetitive, and yet at the same time to repeat it in a way that has real roots to how we live. So join me. If you know the prayer, join me and say it. If you don't know the prayer, just follow along with me. And let's pray the wisdom of Christ, the honoring joy of Jesus when he taught us to say these words. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. That prayer, those words are more than just a collection of words out of a dictionary. Those are the words that at least have the key to unlock some of the treasures that we're all looking for on a heavenly basis. All right. So find your moments of quiet in your daily life to find a way to pray that prayer with real intention, with real attention. All right. Now, Love's Creed, a little something I wrote for myself in the time of crisis, but it was also a time of renewal for a New Year's. Been a little over a decade ago. I've simply found it to be powerfully effective and, as I said earlier, efficacious for me. Keeps me on the straight and narrow, keeps me looking forward when I want to just stare at my toes and and grumble and gripe. I lift my head when I remember love's creed. So let me read it to you in total. I'll go back and I'll ask you to repeat after me. All right, here it is in total. I'm alive to love. I am not on this earth for hate. I'm alive for love. I'm not breathing, eating, and sleeping to regain energy for causing pain. I am alive with plans, dreams, and designs locked into anything and everything that is love. I am unavailable for anything less than love. Now, let me offer it to you in short bursts. You repeat after me, but do your level best if you can to just tune in to what you're saying. Make it a part of your meditation. Here we go. I'm alive to love. I am not on this earth for hate. I'm alive for love. I'm not breathing, eating, and sleeping to regain energy for causing pain. I am alive with plans, dreams, and designs locked into anything and everything that is love. I am unavailable for anything less than love. Yes, yes, yes. If you'd like a copy of that, you can email me at randydeanministries@gmail.com. That's Randy Dean Ministries, all lowercase letters and all one word at Gmail. Well, I am very excited about and passionate about the subject today, the topic du jour, and that is the church. That's what I want to share with you and talk to you about the church as it is related to the subject of love. Now, I got to say this to make sure it's just in the milieu here. In John chapter 13, the Gospel of John, chapter 13 and the chapter 15, Jesus made it specifically black and white clear that the one thing he wanted his disciples to know and to be and to show forth as the evidence that they were followers of Jesus. Now, get that phrase very carefully. Followers of Jesus. He said, one thing is going to distinguish you and make you known as one of my followers, and that will be that you love one another as I have loved you. Now, I just said that. It kind of rolls out of my mouth like the Pledge of Allegiance. It rolls out of my mouth like, good morning, how are you? Good to see you. God bless you. All those kind of, non-entity words that sometimes just kind of pop out of our vocabulary. But I take it more deeply than that. I'm convinced that this one thing, that you love one another as I have loved you, this one thing is what really genuinely is the epic call of Christ to the church. Love. It's the one commandment. Jesus said, this commandment fills all the other commandments, that you love God, you love your neighbor, and you love your enemies. This one commandment, it takes care of the big 10 commandments that everybody keeps thumping their chest about how we're going to get them up on schoolroom, classroom walls. We're going to put it in our schools. And I think that's foolhardy, and that's maybe a subject for another time. But the 10 commandments are all fine and good. Obviously, they're kind of the root system of a lot of civilizations. But the truth of the matter is, Jesus comes along at a time and he said, well, you heard it of old that it was said, and then he could give you the list of the 10 commandments. But I say to you, and then he tells us what he has to say about what the old words were. And those old words are still golden. They're still valuable. They're platinum. They're all of that and a bag of chips. But the truth is, Jesus comes along and says, this is my commandment, my one commandment. Now, that's for the church to roll up its sleeves, do the difficult, challenging, hard labor, heavy lifting, mountain climbing, pilgrimage of love. The church equals love. And to that end, if we don't equal love, we're not the church. We're a great organization. We have fun together. We drink a lot of coffee and eat a lot of food and do a lot of stuff. We talk and gossip and, like any other organization, we're doing good things. I don't mean that to be like we're worthless if we don't have love. It just means that we're not as worthwhile as Jesus envisioned we could be, because love is the one thing that calls us forward. Now, the church has gotten itself entangled in a lot of political shenanigans. The church, especially here in the United States of America, has partnered itself with making sure we get laws that press our agenda forward. And I know I could be here for the next 24 hours and picking all that apart, but that's not my point here. The church has one commandment from its founder, its Savior, its King, its Lord. One commandment, one word: love. Now, how we do that? Well, of course, that's going to take some study and thought, research. It's going to take some think tanks to get together as the church and figure out, what does that mean? How does that affect our behavior? And to that end, it really can be and is offered as, I think, as a preoccupation, an addiction, if you will, in the best way of thinking of an addiction. We're addicted to love. That makes me think of a song. To be lovers. Lovers of all, lovers of our enemies, lovers of our neighbors, lovers of God. I'm personally convinced that should we take on that task for all it's worth and for all that it was intended to be from the heart and mouth and mind of Jesus, if we were to jump in the middle of that parade and take it on, then I do believe that we would be known as the followers of Christ. So, the church. What would it look like if the church made a clear statement? And again, I'm not saying Catholic or Protestant. I'm saying all denominations, all iterations, interdenominational, non-denominational. If all of us somehow found the courage to let go of our political nonsense, to let go of all of our politician love, and I use that word love loosely there, but all of our attachments and addictions to political notions, and giving up on the laws that we want to pass to make sure some people don't get to do what we think they shouldn't do, which I've always found that to be strange. We're going to get laws passed so that you can't do what you want to do. Now, granted, the Ten Commandments covers things like murder. Don't kill. Don't murder. Don't lie. Don't steal. I mean, bottom line, there's some essentials here for human civilization that we're to rise above the shenanigans of Cain and Abel, where Cain puts Abel to death, so that because of envy and jealousy, and now it's upon us. It's upon us. It is upon us to discover more elaborate reasons for our being, the church. I'm a lover of church architecture. I grew up in Milwaukee, and Milwaukee it's kind of a hidden treasure in the world, especially in the United States, for its church architecture. There's some magnificent churches in the city of Milwaukee. In fact, there's one designed by Frank Lloyd Wright that it's an epic structure. But my point of bringing up church architecture is that I find it so enthralling that we could give so much time and money and energy to those structures, as I feel it's appropriate to do, and yet not see the glorious invitation and opportunity to sit down with a philosophical, theological architect of some nature, or some commission or a committee or some, I don't know, some gathering of faith people that believe in Jesus to get together and to architect our way forward for the church, to architect our way forward with love. You see what I'm trying to communicate here? That love would be as vital, expressive, attractive, stand out, rise to the sky, spread out across a field. That love would be ever more prominent than our architecture. Please hear me again. I'm saying it for emphasis. I am not opposed to good architecture in the church. I'm inspired by it. You've heard me talk here before about Holy Hill down in the Milwaukee County area. It's so inspiring. I've been there multiple times in my life. But let's use that for example. Holy Hill, it's up on a gigantic, glorious hill, and this time of year in October, whoo-wee, it's gorgeous. The colors all around are stunning and striking. So I imagine the church, saying of love, it's more important than Holy Hill. Not to burn Holy Hill down, not to abandon it, but to make sure that love in our structures, our theologies, our discussions, our principles, our priorities, our practices. Now there's the big issue, our practicum. That love is our practice. And how does that look? How's that going to be carried forward? Granted, it might put the pinch on some of our structural, architectural budgets if we were to budget love into our priorities. Yeah. So now what? Now what do we do? Well, if we're going to make love just as prominent and beautiful and rise above the horizon like a glorious Holy Hill cathedral, well, now, we got ourselves a major task in front of us. What's love going to look like? How's love going to practice itself? I can hear some of my critics who routinely like to come at me and say, well, if the Bible says to speak the truth in love, Pastor Randy. Yeah, I know. I get it. Speak the truth in love. And it's almost like, yeah, well, you and your love stuff better get after truth. And my response to that is a very calm and a collected way of saying, I speak the truth based on my ability, my priority, my stand, my daily meditation of love. The truth is not born out of my disgust with how somebody else lives. The truth is not born out of how I do not accept people for who they are. The truth is not born of my definitions of this person or this group or that group. The truth is born in the petri dish and in the hothouse and in the consistent gardening and tilling and nurturing and fertilizing of love. Truth born of love is what I want to be about. And I would also add to that love presupposes my willingness to have a relationship with somebody. So I don't just have this license to swat at people with truth because I say, well, after all, I love you. What was your name again? See, that's absurd. That isn't the call of speaking the truth in love. Speaking the truth in love is a tall order, actually. It's part of that heavy lifting. That as I love and I create relationship and knowledge of somebody, I take the time to hear their stories, take the time to research their pains, to know through empathy, or another word for it is incarnation. That's how God demonstrates his love to the world, is by the incarnate Christ, that God became flesh, dwelt among us, and we saw him, felt his touch of love, saw his healing of the masses. So speaking the truth in love with God looked like God becoming human, the incarnation. In our case, we carry out the incarnation through empathy. Empathy means that I'm going to take the time and patience to pay attention to who people are, what their lives are, what their psychological and physiological diagnosis is. Not to just slap truth at them and say, well, I love you. By the way, sometime it'd be nice to know your name, but I got to run. See, that's not speaking the truth in love. That's just speaking the truth because I'm so smart and you're not. That's not love. Love is patient. That's what we know from 1 Corinthians 13. Love does not strut itself like it knows everything. Love does not have a haughty arrogance about, well, guess what? I'm smart. You're dumb. Now shut up and sit down, get down there in pew and let me climb up on my tall pulpit and thump my chest and point a finger at you and tell you what the truth is. But, no, I love you. See, that again, I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but that's for the emphasis. Now, my subject today, again, is the church. How do we structure? What is the architecture of our theology, our philosophy, our purposes? How are we structured to love? How are we willing to put a torch to our doctrines, put a torch to even our understanding of some Bible verses, and come back to the drawing board and look at those Bible verses in the context of the historicity of it? Come back and look at those Bible verses as they have been massaged and beat up and thumped into a human understanding over the centuries. And how about we take a Bible verse and take a lot of time and patience and make sure that we have one hermeneutic that is, simply put, how we define a Bible verse. Love. How does this work with love? Where does love come in to action and purpose in this Bible verse? So the church is my topic today. To have commissions on love, to have conventions on love, to gather as Catholic and Protestant together in think tanks and discuss how is love going to matter in the 21st century. Not how are we going to make sure that everybody hears our chest thumping 10 commandments, beat them up into submission mindset, but how are we going to make love this practice of who we are, this daily structure of how church theology becomes reality. Reality, I almost said. I like creating words when I can, but it's not my job. I'm not in charge of that, but I am kind of in charge of this broadcast. So take it from our theology and make it our realology. How about that? The church. Now, 50 years of my life has been spent with the church as a pastor, as a youth pastor, assistant pastor, and now as a bishop. I've not always been treated well by the church. In fact, I've found myself treated a bit roughly by the church. And I've heard that, well, we're doing this because we love you. And it makes me giggle. And I know I've made my fair share of mistakes with love as a pastor. I'm known for saying in recovery groups on behalf of pastors, imams, priests, rabbis, bishops, everywhere, let me offer these words. I'm sorry. I apologize on behalf of the called out professionals of the church. We've not always done a good job of, as I relate it to recovery, and now I'm going to say it to you. We in clergy world have not always done a good job with love. Love has not always been our real, significant, fire-burning passion. It's been something else. I want to give you a quick phrase here about how I view love and what I'm after to make sure that we get serious about love. I want to read this to you. I'm pulling it up here, and I want to make sure I say it well. I believe that love is this one thing that we always default to, that we are to preach love hotter than any religious flame, live love more outrageous than any political rage, lift love higher than the heavens and deeper than any hell. Preach love hotter than any religious flame, live love more outrageous than any political rage, lift love higher than the heavens and deeper than any hell. I'll pick that up for next week's podcast on that phrase, how to live love and lift love higher above the heavens and lower than any hell. Now, for our purposes today, I'm going to have to draw it to a close. And I want to invite you to join me in breathing well. On the count of 3, take the deepest, most healthy breath you can. Hold it for the count of 3, and then exhale. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Inhale. 1, 2, 3. And exhale. 1, 2, 3. Whew. Made myself a little lightheaded there. All right. Breathing, calming, meditative, reflective about love. Next thing I want to do is to challenge you to join me in understanding that love is always the answer, no matter what the question is. To know that the biggest mistake we make is thinking we still have time, but I'm challenging you to be present, be kind, love more, love now. Mother Teresa put it this way: go into the world today and love the people you meet. Let your presence light new light in the hearts of others. Now, Bishop Randy, I'm no Mother Teresa, but I'm just this guy out here in broadcast land telling you, let's do something beautiful. Ugly has been done to death. Let's be the people of beauty that will save the world. Now, here's a practice for you. And this is a tall order. I know it is. Learning how to say the 3 most holy, charmed, magical words in the human language. To say it with intention, eye contact, and with real purpose of obeying the one commandment. Say these words: I love you. Depending on who you give that to, it's a little weird, a little awkward, startling, yes. It's hard. It is heavy lifting. And it can be misunderstood. But I would ask you to join me in on the other side of that and not be so afraid that it be misunderstood. Maybe if we're to be concerned about something here, is that it not be done. People are worried, what if people misunderstand? I'm concerned about that. But I'm more concerned that it be done. The church, looking at the world, without caveat, without any kind of fine print under it, to say the 3 most holy, charmed words in the human language. I love you. It will require something in us to push past our intimacy issues, to be healed of our intimacy challenges. And they are legion. We've got plenty of them, all of us, myself included. To recognize that when we've talked about love, we have not always practiced love, and to own it and to follow it by the signature. I love you. That's hard. That's a challenge, but it is worth the effort. So that's why I'm here week in and week out. I'm inviting you to join me in this mountain climb, this marathon, to go for love as if our life depended on it, and I propose it does. Why? Because Jesus said, this commandment, this quality will show the world that you are indeed the church. Well, thanks for being here with me for this topic of the church on Alive to Love. I'm the No BS Bishop, and there you are. Now you've been given a mountain to climb, a race to run. God bless you, and happy trails, y'all.
Thanks for listening to the No BS Bishop podcast. If you like the show, leave a comment on it. Or, even better, share it with your friends. And we'll see you on the next one.